Grrr, Monday.
Oh, there we go. That's the new one.
Grrr. Might have been one of those days, even though it's 3 fucking p.m.
That's right.
Might have been one of those days. Or, Eli, could be my alpha growl.
Or that. Oh, that's exactly
Could
what
be
that
my
is. That's
could be
exactly
my-
what that is.
Could be my game face.
Day $1 episode 23.
So you're saying you're alpha.
There you go.
Shut the fuck up. It's going to be a good one.
Well, let's dive into
Buckle
it,
up.
man. Yeah.
Have some self-awareness. Have some humor today.
Yeah.
No, all jokes aside. Nope, no jokes aside. This is something that's been a topic of discussion behind the mics for a long time, and you and I kind of get a good laugh out of it. If we are talking about you today, super not sorry. Just adjust, or at least question some things. I don't mean to call you out individually, so we're not speaking about any one individual. I'm talking more about a market and how people have taken advantage of some things, and then just had a talk on it. So today's topic, so you're saying you're alpha. What we're getting at is people who primarily self-identify as being alpha.
Self-identify. That's a
Self-proclaimed
great way to put it.
alpha. You know what?
Great way to put it.
Man, you know what it reminds me of? You know why it kind of ticks me off? Why it kind of chaps my ass? Because it's kind of like when people call themselves an entrepreneur. There's no bar as into like a certain level of success before you would call yourself an entrepreneur. Like people say that and they throw it around, or they're a mentor. Fucking Christ,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right. So that'd be like me putting football player on my on my Instagram or my social media. Like, well, what do you mean you're a football player? Oh yeah, I'd love to play football. Oh, you're not a professional,
Right.
right?
At
like
least with that, there's a measurable
people would make
like scale where you can say, hey, you're
Yeah.
not that.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship, there's not.
And as much as I poke fun at certain things, even like at least in bodybuilding, like usually people's name doesn't change until they're a pro and they get their pro card. Now, there's some argument of how easy it is to get a pro card nowadays.
Yep.
Won't get into that. The bottom line is, at least even in that world, with how cliche it can get, most people don't subjectify themselves to a title until something's of a certain level has been earned. Well, in our world, as far as being an entrepreneur, or for today's episode, being an alpha, there is no bar.
No.
You can kind of just call yourself whatever you are, and alpha as fuck, alpha as all kinds of stuff.
Anything. Yeah.
And it kind of just, from what I've seen, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And listen, if I mention some things that you are, but you don't claim to be an alpha, just understand. I get it. There's gonna be some carryover. Not every guy with a beard is fake. Not every guy chokes down IPAs and pretends like they're good. Some people really like them. Not everyone who cuffs their jeans and wears Doc Martens is weird. So, right?
It's weird. Yeah.
So just understand that maybe somebody's like robbing your style. But my biggest thing is, from what I've been noticing, is this alpha thing. There's a huge market for it now on like how to be a man, how to be alpha as fuck. There's like booklets for it. Dude, I'm looking on Amazon. I'm not even on Amazon. I'm on Facebook, and this Amazon thing pops up in my news feed. I'm going to find it when you're talking if I'm unless I'm too alpha today. I take both mics.
At least it's not self-proclaimed, man.
There's a book out there of like, want women to go crazy for you? Want to be alpha? Read this book.
Dude,
and I'm like, Jesus criminy. There's a book for it.
Right.
And I guess from my narrow scope here, not trying to talk too much trash, I know I'm having some fun, but from my narrow scope, what I've seen is they're just like subjectifying certain things, or not, and they're accentuating it. Like they take guns to the next level. They take being pride, like they take being American proud to the next level. They take beards to the next level. Everyone's got a fucking tattoo now. Like, and that's what they're showing as alpha. And I guess my question today is like, all right, so you're saying you're alpha. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel, and I'll never self-proclaim. Dude, I'm not going to call myself alpha.
You can't. No alpha would actually call himself alpha.
However, for the sake of this show, I feel like, how do I say this? Look, dude, I'll kill you in a fucking second. I don't need to tell you that. I don't need to show it to you. I don't need to show you my gun collection. I don't need to be an asshole. I don't need to walk around and show everyone how tough I am, right? Like, it doesn't mean I don't have a plan to take care of business. And is that alpha? Or is it just one layer of that onion, right? Well, is there more to that peel? Like, is it also alpha to be understanding and be patient and be wise and be a leader? Yep. And then how are you leading? Are you an alpha leader because you yell and scream at everyone and your Facebook shows wolves, right? I don't think so. So that's what we kind of want to get in today. I'm hogging the mic. I want you to throw some comments out there, and I'm obviously starting to organize some more of my thoughts as far as where I want to go with it. But every time I see things that are alpha, I'm just like, man, I'm not that at all. I must be a bitch. But then I go, hold on a minute.
Yeah. Well,
I ain't no bitch, Craig.
Well, let's start off.
I ain't no bitch.
Let's start off looking at, let's start off like, trying to pinpoint what alpha is, first of all, is super hard. I think there's a lot of intangibles that come with being an alpha. And frankly, a lion is never going to have to tell anyone he's alpha. A lion's never going to have to tell anyone he can kill him, right?
Correct.
He just is alpha, and everyone just knows by being in the presence of a lion that you are not alpha.
What women want in a man, how to become the alpha male women respect, desire, and want to submit to. Jesus criminy.
Right.
Look, you had me for a minute.
That shit sells, bro.
Want to submit to.
That shit sells.
Oh, I cannot. Oh, the macho man comes out of me. It comes out of me. Oh, I just cannot wait to have women submit to me. Oh, shut the fuck up. Dude, that bothers me because I feel like there are people that maybe want to be, hey, like, maybe I need to be more manly. Maybe I need to step up for myself. Or, maybe I grew up without a father and I didn't play competitive sports and don't really have that, that grit. And I think we're just mislabeling.
We are.
Being an alpha.
They should call it masculinity. And here's the thing. I think it's a rebound. Shit's always rebounding, man. Like, we're going through a little phase of toxic masculinity, or what people will call toxic masculinity.
Man, such a great point.
Where people are afraid to be masculine.
So
right?
the other side of the pendulum, you've got a swing of the toxic and you're not allowed to be a man.
Right.
So then you think the marketing of this alpha male, take charge, submit women is the other side of that
swung
coin.
Completely the other way. And here's the thing. I actually do think men need to be more masculine, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But the problem is when you're slapping the label of alpha on it, and then guys think they're supposed to act a certain way, and then they actually start doing toxic masculine things because they're not actually alpha. They're doing what they think an alpha should do. But you said, an alpha isn't needing to yell or scream or talk loud or do any of this shit. I mean, they may or they may not. But
or making people submit. That's
the thing, right?
That's big for me. And dude, I put a lot of weight behind words. Just the thought of someone submitting to me means you're doing what I tell you, not because you agree with it, not because you have any other choice but to submit, right? Like look at that word in mixed martial arts, or let's take jiu-jitsu. What does submit mean? Submit means someone has put me in a position that I'm compromised, and in real life I would die.
Yep.
But because we're in sport, I get to submit. I get to tap out, I get to submit, and then they'll end the match. But if this were real life and we were Neanderthals crawling the fuck around, fighting over turkey legs, you'd be dead.
Right.
So the word submit, and again, I get it, it's marketing, right? But I think that's where things get carried away, because that women want to submit. So women want to submit, just that.
Yeah, I know.
Which one?
Right.
I haven't met her, nor do I want to, but I haven't met her, So I just think there could be some more clarity. If that were to, and I know it's not a hook, right? Because it feels and make women understand what you have to say willingly. Yeah. That's a terrible title to a book. I get it. It's not going to sell. I understand. I'm not a good book seller. But I think when guys are looking to be more manly, quote unquote, and then we market poison, now you think that you should be having women submit to you versus understand. And I have, I have my family. I have a daughter. I don't even want my daughter to submit to me. I want her to do what I say because she's 9. So, yeah, there are days where you're going to do what I tell you to do. But there's always a time where I circle back and I explain it to her so she just understands the reasons.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine some dude out there one day reading that book who also happens to date my daughter one day, and then think that that's a good idea.
God.
Because then you are going to meet alpha. Yeah. And it's not because I'm loud. You're just not. I'm a dad.
Yeah.
And man, when I was attached to SOCOM, We had a substitute math teacher join, right? He joined the Marine Corps during a time of war and just wanted to go and contribute and do his part. And maybe math class was driving him banana sandwich. I don't know. Bro, he was a nerd.
Yeah.
He was, dude, when he told everyone what he was, I can't even explain the amount of laughter that came out in that room when we were all just, it was during, we had a grog, and it's just like a night with the guys and in the Marine Corps. And dude, we all respected him. Dude, super good dude. So is he not alpha because he's a substitute math teacher who's super quiet and probably dressed like Ned Flanders when he wasn't in his Marine Corps camis? Is he not alpha?
Right.
Is he not? So I guess what I'm trying to get is like, I think alpha, man, is like just taking care of business. And that's what I wish we would get more into is, first and foremost, who are you as a person?
Yeah.
I'm a nerd. Cool. I'm an asshole. Cool. I'm this, whatever your dominant personality traits are, cool. And then understanding, what does alpha mean within my realm? Like, how is me being alpha?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just getting accentuated that it's these guys that are, God forbid, too, right?
Dude,
super muscular,
yeah.
tattoos, fucking beards, loud mouths, don't give a fuck.
Or it's not even the muscular thing anymore. Nowadays,
Okay.
people look at the muscular and they think, he's insecure. He's not even the alpha thing. The alpha thing, now, it's so surface. And that's one of the issues that I have with the alpha label is that people associate that with just masculine shit, right? And they think that because they go and they throw axes now and they drink their IPA and they have their beard, that now they're considered alpha. However, when shit hits the fan and it comes time for somebody to actually step up and do what they said they're going to do what needs to be done.
Everybody wants to be an alpha, but don't nobody want to do no goddamn alpha
That's
shit.
right,
That's what you're trying to say. Was
That's
that alpha
right.
enough? Did I say that right?
That sounded pretty alpha.
Don't nobody
right.
do no alpha
But it's
shit.
not the surface thing. So let's talk about like what alpha actually does mean to you.
Okay. So alpha for me is just being strong in all aspects. I'm super big. This is going to sound nerdy. I'm super big with like samurai history. And I love samurai history because of how well they were prepared for battle, how well they were at battle. But I also love diving into their history on just how well-rounded they were in life. Like they had to, like they were gardeners, right? And we call them landscapers, but they were gardeners and planted food and took care of their family, took care of their women. They weren't having women submit to them, at least per doctrine with what I read. And were the times different back then? I get it, right? Less than 100 years ago, you could beat your wife with a broomstick. I get it. So let's not get stuck in the weeds here. But, you know, I loved how well-rounded they were. I loved how calm and disciplined they were. I loved how they managed emotion and the battlefield and were patient. And I guess that's my interpretation of alpha. Now, I've got guys that I respect from the Marine Corps that I would consider alphas. Some of them are just loud, chip on their shoulder, fun guys like me, man. When I get around my guys, man, I talk a lot. As you guys can tell, we have a fucking podcast. I talk a lot. But I love talking and having fun, man. And so I think that's just my personality. So I've got friends that are similar to me that I would consider alphas. And I've got some friends that are super quiet that I wouldn't turn my back on if they were mad at me. You know what I mean? So I think it's just about being comfortable in your own skin, and whatever aspects of your life, you know, need to be handled are taken care of. So it's just that wisdom side, right? Of like, hey, when it's time to be calm and patient and listen and understanding or throw an apology out there, throw the apology out there. When it's time to handle your family or home life or women or whatever it may be, like there's a certain level of care that has to go into. Like making a woman submit sounds frightening.
Dude,
it sounds scary, you know? So I think just being the best, I think that's what some people want to get are trying to convey with alpha, of like just being the best at everything. So being the best father, being the best dad. Sorry, father and dad, same thing. Being the best husband.
Well, not the same thing. But
but you get your point.
Yeah.
But you know, just being the best at all aspects of your life. The problem is we start putting an image to it, and I think that's where we're getting in trouble. Is it just looks one dimensional, and it looks like that you have to be outspoken and you have to be like this super confident, whatever kind of guy, and it's just not real.
Well, and the funny part is, as soon as you're worried about what other people think of you, as soon as you're worried about any of that, that's immediately not alpha. That's the funny part to this whole thing. As soon as you're worried about if you look manly or not, or if you're like that in itself is just not alpha.
How dare you?
Dude, it's true. Well, and so I agree with everything you said, like being well-rounded, you know, kind of mastering your domains where you're at. But a big aspect of that is, I think, coming from a place of service. Like, who are you serving? Because, dude, you look at alphas in any pack, and they serve, man. Like, they're there to protect, they're there to fight, they're there to hunt. They're not just the ones that sit back and let everybody else do things for them, right? Or they're so worried about keeping that alpha position that the whole, pack goes to shit, right? Like,
Correct.
Coming from a place of service and being able to humble yourself and still be the best and the most proficient in those areas, I think that is a huge part of what makes an alpha.
Yeah, I think so too. And just being good to your word, you know, like if you got to throw down, then throw down.
Yep.
If you need to have an apology, have an apology. If you need to, again, put some work in and go knock on doors, or if you're, you know, if you're providing a service for work and you're committed to it, then be committed to your team. Just being good to your word and being proficient at it, you know, and I've got a couple notes on that too. And, you know, like my first one is, can you be self-proclaimed? And I'm like, all right, like, what is that? What does self-proclaimed mean? Does that mean like I'm giving myself a title? Does it mean I'm marketing myself? Well, okay, well, I market ourselves. I market myself for our podcast and what we do, and we market ourselves with real estate. So, okay, so is self-proclaimed and marketing yourself the same thing? I don't think so. But I'm trying to like be devil's advocate to myself, right? Because all joking aside, like I'm not trying to bash anybody, but I do want to open some perspective. So is marketing yourself the same thing as giving yourself a title? I don't think so. I think for us, like if we market ourselves and someone chooses to call me an alpha, like, okay, I don't even know if I want that title in the first place. I'd rather be a dad, you know, or I'd rather just be like, I'd rather be a feeling. You know what I mean, Eli?
I know exactly what you
like
mean.
if I were super mad at you
I know exactly
and I were
what
sitting
you mean.
across this table and I was looking at you, I would want to be a feeling of like, oh man,
I felt that feeling.
I'm
familiar with that feeling.
I would rather have that than have a title,
Yeah.
because I think that feeling speaks volume about who you are.
Well,
and that feeling, we just described a feeling of fear. Okay, so now I'm going down that path of alpha, but that feeling I also want when I hug my family, like when I hug Kate or I hug my daughter, how do they feel when I wrap my arms around
so the
them?
word that you're looking for is
Safe.
presence. Yeah. So what is your presence?
And whatever that presence
Yes.
like needs to be in that moment,
Yep.
that's what I want to be.
Right.
And if that needs to be fear, so be it. If that needs to be warmth, care, trust, a sense that it's going to be okay, I want it to be that as well.
Yep.
But boy, are you in trouble if it's fear.
Well,
But
dude,
I just don't ever want to run my mouth about
and
it.
I think that's the whole lion analogy. Like that, the lion doesn't use words at all, right? If that lion's trying to protect you, you're going to feel protected.
Could you imagine, like we're all idiots and we decide to go on some trip, right?
Hangover.
And we're just hanging out. Yeah.
We wake up in the hotel room the next morning.
And you walk around the corner and just the biggest lion you could ever imagine
Yep.
is just sitting there.
You don't have to say a thing.
And he just looks at you
Yep.
and kind of says, "What's up?"
Yep. Yep.
Not a growl, just golly.
That's a presence right
I
there.
would hope I have my guns on
That's
me.
a presence.
And that's going to be a battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a presence. But I feel like, man, it's such a good, and I'm glad we're thinking out loud and we're talking on this podcast and talking a little shit, but opening some perspective, because I think that's the best way to describe it, is like whatever a moment needs to feel in that moment is what an alpha should be. So if it's, I'm sorry, then you should feel that. But if it's someone that needs to feel trust or feel safe with you, if you give them a hug or support, they feel that support. Or if fear needs to be put in place, and that's not a fun one. I don't think, and I know we keep saying that one in addition to the others. I don't want to continue to have a talk about fear, but like I could only imagine, like if I had, and I think some guys, man, that have been through it, like that's the last thing that we want to be. And maybe that's true. Maybe real alphas, for the sake of this argument today or discussion, I think your real ones, look, man, I think the last thing they want is to have to invoke fear.
Yeah, no.
But if I do, and that has to come on, man, there's no going back. This whole world is going to come down.
Yeah.
There is no end to it.
Yeah, that's the truth, dude.
But it's like, hey, that's the last thing I want to do. I would much rather have forgiveness and trust, resolution.
Well, dude,
Right?
and
Versus
that comes
having
with,
to pull the trigger on fear. And I think a lot of times the fear and the gets put out to the front. And again,
Yeah.
man, any guy that I guess I would consider alpha, that I've been exposed to in my life that have just done some incredible things, right? Like, I think the last thing they want is to turn that on.
Well, I think that's because they've been there, man. And for any real alpha, that takes years of experience and life and ups and downs and going through shit and scars. Dude, like, you're not just young and strong and become the alpha, right?
Well, and it's marketable, right? So being this badass sounds awesome. But if you've seen the other side of just carnage, it's not as romantic as people make it. You know what I mean? But like, I mean, shit, man, just look at the stuff we watch on movies. It's awesome. And I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here. I love movies. But to then put that into reality, like, yeah, man, if Skyscraper was real, that's terrible. Right?
Yep.
But he's alpha, hanging from the building, buff as shit, saving people.
Right.
Like, I get
It's
it, man.
super marketable.
So I think that's the thing, is it's marketable. And then, all right, so it's on you as an adult to just stay out of the weeds and to be true to yourself. But at a point, man, like, look, we have a business, right? We're in real estate.
Yes.
To a point, man, like, if we haven't done something quite yet, we're vulnerable to who we listen to. And maybe we try some things, and, you know, and I would hate to waste my time. And so I do think that how some of this stuff is getting marketed, and like, I saved that title on that book, you know, for a reason. Like, when it says that, let me read this again. How to become the alpha male women respect.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, because maybe there's a way to be alpha.
Okay.
That's respectable. All right, open for interpretation. Except for man is written in big ass red letters.
Right.
Right? And then it says women respect, desire, and want to submit to. Ooh, I want to say this dude's name that wrote this fucking book so bad, and I would love to have this dude on the podcast. I should probably read his book prior to. I'm obviously, I have not read it. And the only reason I haven't dove into that book and read it before I'm speaking to it is I'm just talking about the mere marketing piece that there is. Because here's the point. Most people won't read that book, but they're going to see that on their social media, and they're going to read that quick title, that excerpt, and think that that's acceptable, or have this seed planted in their head that, like, women should be submitting to them, right? Like, boy, is that dangerous.
It is dangerous.
And
man.
look, I'm just going to throw a precursor. You can speak, because I know you got a lady. Don't do that to a Filipino, okay?
You'll find out real quick you're not alpha.
No.
Yeah.
It's not going to go super well. And you know what's funny, man? It's like, we have a good home, and I've spoken to you about this, like with Kate and I. We're super opposite in a lot of things, and I have said to you so many times, like, hey, man, we're a great fit for raising a family and being partners and raising kids, and because she just lets me be me. But she's not submitting to me, right? Like, she's allowing me to be myself. So if I need to be mad one day, if I'm battling some shit and I didn't sleep that night and I'm working through it, you know, if I'm in a bad mood, like, she just lets me do what I need to do. However, like, if I say something inappropriate, I'm going to say I'm sorry. If I'm being impatient, if I take my day out on her even a little bit, I'm going to recognize what I just did, and I'm going to articulate that. So she's letting me be myself, because I've got the responsibility behind it to just call my own bullshit when it's unacceptable. So she's not submitting me. But you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference between her allowing me to be myself because I respect her as a person.
Yeah.
Not as a woman, as a fucking human. Okay? Like, I respect her.
Yeah.
And if I'm full of shit, I got to say it. So, and I think that because I'm that way, I get the freedom to be myself, because I don't need someone to control me or correct me or do that kind of stuff, because I'm mature enough to just handle my own bullshit. And nope, I'm not perfect. Dude, I'm a goddamn cowboy. And some of the nights with me, look, if you even consider me close to being an alpha, you don't want one. First and foremost, women,
Right.
if someone's calling themselves an alpha or even close to the real thing, they're hard.
Yeah.
They're
Yep.
hard. But
Yep.
again, like, I think I do well, and she can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I do well at apologizing and being patient and open-minded and understanding, and I grow to a level where she knows if I got to be myself for a minute, it's productive, and she's allowing me to be me because I've earned it.
Because
I'm not forcing her to shut her mouth.
as a true alpha, and this is the funny part about that whole title, getting women to submit to you. The funny part is that a true alpha will submit when it's necessary, when they're in the wrong. Not
Yeah.
that you're submitting and tapping out and saying, hey, but
that's
but
where
by
that
you
word
apologizing.
And this is why this is why marketing kind of pisses me off sometimes, even though we're in sales and marketing and business, is there's just weight behind words, and that word submit. Oh man, that's hard. Like, is it like, I just, you know what I mean? Like submitting would just, oh, well, I submit when I'm wrong. Well, that's it. Okay. So that's just putting the whole notion that her and I were duking it out.
Right.
What if it, no, it's just a discussion. Does it have to be a duke? And does there have to be a winner or a loser all the time? Or can there just be different perspectives? Right. And like, that's something that we fix early on. She would say she was sorry all the time. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted this. And, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted pepper instead of the salt. Like, you ever know someone that just apologizes, like almost like an icebreaker or a conversation starter or a conversation transition,
or just like a word like or they apologize.
Oh, sorry about that. I thought hey, stop saying that. There's nothing to be sorry about. And even if I'm disagreeing with you and I'm not your favorite person right now, still don't say you're sorry unless there's actually something to be sorry about. So is it alpha to say that and empower a woman? So is it alpha to empower a woman and tell her, don't be sorry, don't submit to me, don't any of that unless it's needed? Like now I'm giving her tools. I wonder if I'm giving secrets to that book away, right? Or is it alpha to empower her and say, hey, you don't owe me a fucking thing. We just disagree, but there's nothing you've done that you should be sorry about.
It's okay, right?
Yeah, and it should be okay to disagree. Now, if you call me a hoe, that's different, right? That was a funny. Well, that was that wasn't fun. But this is where I battle. And you know what I really battle is we have a young audience from what I'm seeing through my Instagram, and young moldable men that are 18, 19, and 22, 23, and like young and moldable, and they have all the ambition in the world to go be something. And they're also a sponge for whatever is hip and new, and just if it's marketed well, if somebody's like really speaking well behind something, it's like they want to hear that message even more, which can make it dangerous. And now maybe he didn't get that from his dad. Maybe he didn't get it from an uncle or from leadership from the Marine Corps. So he's seeking that. And because we've got the internet and access to things, like you have the ability to do that. Yeah. But you're so young to a point where you don't necessarily know how to weed through the bullshit. And like I'm talking from 34 years of experience with a ton behind that. I got a heavy ass 34 years. So I see it clear as day.
Yes.
But what about someone who's 18 years old and didn't have that dad, or had a dad but maybe didn't like his dad? Whatever the situation is, they're seeking more, and they don't have that bullshit meter. Yeah. And now they start gaining this this perception, and their behavior start becoming consistent with submitting women or submitting other people to your behavior, because that's the alpha. Like,
dude, you can get away with that for a bit till you cross paths with a real alpha, and you'll learn real freaking fast where you stand.
Yeah.
You'll learn real fast where you stand.
No, I agree. And that's why I'm still such a fan of getting punched in the mouth. I really am. I think there's some really good learning behind it.
If you're writing books about being an alpha and you haven't been punched in the face, you shouldn't be writing that book.
And I question people's background and what, and I guess we could read more into it, but just the hook on that book really pissed me off, man.
Yeah.
Because again, I think, like, yes, you can blame the young kid. Well, it's your fault, and you went out acting like an asshole. You got punched. True. But I also think, as us guys in our 30s and 40s and 50s, whether we're someone's father or not, I think we have we have an opportunity. Secondly, I do think we have an obligation to impact and pay it forward to the younger generation the best we can. And that comes from the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Period, man. Like, as you grow through leadership in the Marine Corps, it's your entire being to pay it forward and give it back to that younger generation that are starting to become young Marines behind you, because the Marine Corps doesn't live unless they carry it on. So everything is reliant upon the next generation of Marines being phenomenal Marines. So it doesn't matter how good your generation was. If you can't pass it on, the Marine Corps dies, and then what does it matter? It won't matter. So if we could carry that as men, and women. There's alpha women too. We're gonna get there in a minute, I bet. But if we take our opportunity, or if we see it as an obligation to try to impact young men the best we can, I think that shit would die. Yeah. And I would hope that other men would call bullshit out like that more, and then books like that don't become such a good sale.
And one aspect of it too is you got to be okay not being an alpha. Like, you can be masculine and you can be whoever you are, and you don't have to be an alpha.
What do you mean?
You don't have to go and try and change who you are and be a certain way.
But does that mean you're not alpha?
Well,
I mean, ask yourself. You know what I mean?
I think.
Well, I'm quiet and soft spoken, and I'm a math teacher, and I really love crochet. Okay, but do those traits mean you're not alpha?
No, you still could be alpha
if you're good at your word, and if you protect your family, if you protect your friends.
True.
If you don't allow people to walk on you, and you have self-respect, are you not an alpha because you like to crochet or what?
In your own circle, yes. I just think true alphas, the true fucking lions, the true alphas.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just trying. I'm giving some banter.
I think the true alphas are so few and far between that it's okay to not be one, and not everybody's going to be an alpha.
Are you submitting to me?
However, with your family and your social circle, you can be a leader, you can be a good father, you can be well-rounded in all those little areas, and maybe you're just not a true alpha, but maybe, you're alpha of your pack, right? But I just think I want to give respect to like what I consider like a true alpha that has that presence, that can put fear
I see what you're saying.
That can put fear in people, that can put love and courage in people. There's just very, very few people that can actually do all of that. You can be a great father and a great leader, and be the best dad in the world of your little world.
So kind of like Tom Brady. Not everyone's going to be that level of football player.
Correct.
But it doesn't mean that you can't go have fun and play flag football and have some fun with your kiddos or have some fun with coworkers and still go enjoy the game at your level.
I think you can strive. I think you can strive for it, but it's okay.
And I'll go for that. I mean, dude, there's some gentlemen that I've met out there, man. Like they're about as alpha as you get. And I think when I'm trying to reflect on some of the guys that I've met, when I say you meet guys like that, and I promise you that fear element is the last thing that they want to pull the trigger on.
Yeah.
But from the guys that I've met, man, like I felt, and I'm speaking for them, I'm just for the sake of the podcast, I feel like even though they weren't eager to do it, and it was the last thing that they would ever want to do again and again and again. And during, being in the Marine Corps during a time of war, you meet a lot of those guys. But I felt like even though that was the last thing they wanted to do, I felt like it was just who they were, and they shouldered the responsibility to do it if it were needed. And maybe those are your like upper echelon elite alphas that just would hate to have to do it, but when it goes down, like they just trust themselves to carry that responsibility.
Yeah.
And there's some good ones, man. Just so I agree. I think you're right, man. But just like anything else, level of entrepreneurs, level of professional athletes, level of anything, man. Like level of videography, level of photography. Like maybe there's levels to everything. Like so maybe it's a great point that you're talking about, and maybe it's just good to just identify where you're at and who you are, and understand you can still level up.
Yeah, always.
And what's great about entrepreneurship, what's great about alpha, or just learning who you are as a man, there is no expiration date on that. You're a professional athlete. Like, yeah, man, if you're not making it by your mid-20s, you're done. Sorry. Right? Like you're not going back at 45. But what's nice about entrepreneurship and business and just who you are as a man and being alpha is that's something that maybe you don't ever have to stop working on.
No.
And who knows how high you can level up, as you continue to work on yourself. And you also have to ask yourself, like, how high do you need to level up?
Right.
Do you need to be that guy that's in battle?
Right.
And it's not just battle, but I'm using that. That's what I can speak to. Those are the guys that I know. I have to stay in my lane when we're using this. But yeah, man, like, you know me, dude. I get this isn't everyone, so if you wear these shirts, like I'm not talking about you because I'm not talking about anyone specific right now. But the beards and the grunt style,
the tap
out shirts or grunt style shirts, 9-line shirts, like they bother me to an extent because I'm like, man, hey, bro, like apparently you're more infantry than I was. Apparently I don't have a clue. Like, and just bragging about all the guns you got for what? Is it recreational? And it's no, it should be if people want to use it for fun and train. I'm more than okay with it. But going out for the sake of the Instagram photos and going out and just being eager to show everybody however many guns you got because you're alpha as fuck on the hashtag. No, I feel like that's where it becomes cliche.
Well, it's people seeking outside validation.
Yeah.
to make them feel better, which again is just not alpha. The second you start giving a fuck about how people perceive you or think about you, and this doesn't mean just go off the deep end and be a piece of shit, because you need to care about people. But at the same time, like if you're concerned with the way people think about you, you're not alpha. If you need a t-shirt to make you feel a certain way, to tell people you do MMA or to tell people you do something, that's just not alpha.
It's not, right? And I think one of my biggest points is that, like, I've always, when I see that stuff, and every week you want to buy a new gun, and then you're getting into the political side to it. Again, I think it's the pendulum swing that you talk about, right? Like, because we're not allowed to be men anymore. Like, there's this whole other opposite side where we overcompensate for that opinion or that political stance. Now we're overcompensating and we're getting crazy with it. Like, I get it, but I also want to think tactical to a point to where, I don't necessarily want everyone to know how many guns I got, and I don't necessarily want to walk around and be a target, right? Like when we were in the Marine Corps, you weren't allowed to wear like your uniforms on planes, okay. And I'm guessing it was after 9/11. I went in the Marine Corps just after 9/11, so I'm not sure how it was prior. I can only speak to mine, but you weren't allowed to wear your uniforms and stuff. They encourage you to just be a civilian. And part of that was like, if you go on there in your camis and whatever it may be, like, man, you're just a target. Like if that plane is hijacked or if something's going on, they know exactly who to like take out first, right? Because they just understand the threat that you are. And that's always kind of hit hard with me. And then, so people that are open carrying and just super, super proactive on that stance, like it does, man. It makes you a target versus me. Like, look, dude, I don't want to be a soft target. Like my house is protected. I'm not going to just leave the garage open to bait people in my home. But at the same time, you don't need to know if I got 2 or 3 guns on me at all times. It's not your concern. And if it is your concern because I have to do something to you, the last thing that I want is for you to know about it. I would much rather, right, just put one in your head before you even know what happens to you, right?
That's because you're more worried about, or you're more focused on actually having to use the damn thing versus will people look at me if they know I have something like this.
But here's the deal. I also understand I'm vulnerable.
Yes.
Gunfights are dangerous. Fighting people is dangerous. There. You can slip. You can fall. You can crack your head. Someone can get a lucky punch. Someone else could be strapped.
Anything could
and
happen.
They could put a bullet in you. Like
anything.
You also, like, it doesn't matter how alpha per se that you think you are. You have to understand circumstances and that you're vulnerable. So if I have to be in a situation, man, where I have to pull trigger, no, man, I want that to be so quick. You're meeting your maker before you even know what happened, and then you can't help but just brag about me to that maker of yours and how impressed you were.
Well, dude,
because it was that quick, and you're right. But again, it's not because I'm trying to show off right now or I'm trying to get validation. Like I'm being lighthearted and I'm talking a little trash here, but it's true. The bottom line is, guys that have been there know how vulnerable you are to a circumstances.
Yes.
If something is so dangerous, I think I have to shoot you. Look, man. That's super one-sided, and it's super going to happen before you know it, because I also understand, like, it's dangerous to get into those circumstances.
It is.
And every piece of leverage you have, especially if you're protecting your family, like, what if I go running my mouth, so I want to talk trash to you, and then you draw down on me first?
Right.
And what if I'm there with my family? Right? Like, problem, because now my family's at risk because I'm knocked out or I'm unconscious.
But,
like, listen, man, not a good idea.
Yeah. So it's like and that's what comes with that experience and the scars that are necessary to really achieve alpha status, I think, right? The OGs, man, I've heard you say it. You worked Gaines and Aurora, right? Long time.
I worked a lot with those, there's a lot of,
The OGs, bro, probably a little different than.
Yeah. And like Aurora and Denver, like when you're around some of those gangs, they're hard enough to get the point. It's not LA, it's not New York, but there's enough of them here locally. Yeah, man, they're under the radar. They don't want that friction.
So the real alphas of those groups, though, they're not always the loudest ones, right?
I wouldn't call them alphas. They're just gangsters.
Okay.
They're preying on the vulnerable. That's why I have a problem calling them. I guess for the sake of the argument, they're alphas in
of their little pack, right?
They are. And good. Look, gangs is different. The way you need to be alpha if you're going to run a gang is a little different than how you need to be alpha drinking your fucking White Claw. Okay?
Right.
Like, it's just... There's
There's
a different nature to that, right? Because you do have people that want to take you over and take you out. So there is a little bit more submission per se from like your younger
Subordinates.
gangs. So yes, for the sake of the conversation, yes.
But just having the experience, dude, like that's just something. Again, if you're calling yourself alpha, if you're needing that external validation to feel good about yourself, you just have to go get more experience. Actually go, if you're feeling like that, right? Like, hey, I think I could be better, but my tap out shirt, I kind of feel like a poser, right? Go sign up at a school. Actually, go start doing some shit.
I think
go
you
get
already
hit
know
in the
it,
mouth.
though. I think,
go get hit in the mouth, please, because you may real quick be like, yeah, nope, you guys can have that alpha shit. I'm
and
good.
look, man, I like Angry Orchard. I do.
He does, yeah.
It's got a little sugar in it.
Yep.
I'm just a sweet tooth, and I can't remember who we were hanging out with. I can't remember his name, nor should I probably say it if I did remember. But you and I were somewhere, and I was drinking Angry Orchard, and some bearded guy, I don't know, somebody we were networking with or were talking to, was talking IPAs or something. And I did, man. I slipped up. I had a vulnerable moment, and I said, hey, man, I'll kill you in a fucking second. And then I'll sit back down and drink my Angry Orchard. Cut it out.
And
like,
guys,
I don't care.
There's just something about Will when he tells you that, you just believe him. Like, there's
hope
just
so.
something about when those were anyone else in the world could tell me that. Yeah, okay, bitch.
And I joke with you.
I know,
you know what I mean,
but when Will tells you that, there's something super believable about it.
But I also feel like I'm, and when I picked that bone with that guy, like, could I have just laughed it off? Of course.
Yeah.
But here's like the mission in me, right? Like when I feel like someone pipe up at me like that, I go, oh, you're confident because you've been picking on people.
Yeah.
I bet that same one-liner you just said to me for ordering that Angry Orchard, I bet you said it to other people. I bet you're doing that submissive stuff.
Yep.
This is where that stops. So if I
read that fucking book, that's what he did.
So this is where that stops, right? And I feel like if I kind of pick that bone and just plant a little seed in you to get you to shut your mouth, maybe that gets you to shut your mouth toward other people. I feel like, you know what I mean? I've always felt like sometimes I'm sticking up for people who I don't even know.
Yep.
Honestly. So I'll pick that bone and,
man.
And again, if you genuinely like IPAs, I'm not picking on you. I'm super okay with that. Just the images that are going around of just how common tattoos are getting and grunt style shirts and beards and IPAs and then just overly pro-America, but you don't necessarily know any American history, nor did you fight for it, and I'm not saying you need to fight for it, like, I'm not going there. But every ounce of your perception that you're giving people would suggest you did.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's just a misrepresentation. I get bothered by it. And again, sometimes I feel like when I call people out like that, am I kind of picking a bone? Does it necessarily have to be said? No, it doesn't. But sometimes, man, like, one, depending on the fucking mood you get me on, that's probably the first part, let's be honest. Secondly, I do sometimes feel like I'm sticking up for people I don't know because I start thinking like, hey, if you're so peacocky that you'll do it in front of a guy like me, I just wonder what else you've been doing. So maybe I'm the guy that has to stop you from that.
Check you a little bit in a nice little way.
A little bit.
Right. Well, and here's the funny thing about being alpha. Like, let's use an example like biting your nails, right? Like, but let's say biting your nails is like not considered alpha, right? Oh, you're biting your nails, like that's not alpha. You know what? Worried about if biting your nails is being alpha or not is that in itself is just not alpha. Not giving a fuck about biting your nails is like just it's so important just to not.
So maybe
guys,
alpha is like your self-confidence. Just being comfortable in your own skin and being the best version of yourself. Don't be someone else. Don't be things you can't be. Just be the best version of yourself.
And not worried about what other people are thinking about you.
And be good to your word. And I got a couple more things.
Yeah, what you got?
I want to get some. I would hate for men to feel sensitive and us leave women out of this. So we're gonna get there too. Yeah, but I think we got it. Like, what does alpha mean? I think we've answered that. And when I say I think we've answered that, not what I think it is, not what Eli thinks it is, but what do you think? Like, what's your interpretation? Like, is it a feeling? Like, is it a presence and a feeling when you walk into a room? And it's not that everyone fears you. It's a feeling of gratefulness or trust or support, right? Like, it's just whatever it needs to be. Like, do you project that and being the best version of yourself and not trying to be so in tune with marketing yourself to everyone as far as you're self-proclaimed or what people are worried about. Like, obviously we market ourselves with the podcast, and I think that's different. And I'll never say what we are. Like, if people want to call us alpha or beta, I don't give a shit. Like, if people have their interpretation of us. Like, that's okay. I have my interpretation of myself and who I want to be.
1,000%.
I want to be the best me,
Yep.
but I can't be Eli. So I think we've kind of covered that as far as just like being that feeling, and then also just understanding like you've got to be the best version of who you are.
Yes.
And if who you are, and I'll be, and I can speak to it. If you think you are more, and you've got a calling, and you're a young man out there that wants more challenge or seeks more challenge or seeks more passion, like, yep, you might end up in a place where I went. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? So if that's in you and that's who you feel you are, man, I do think you should chase that down and figure out where you stand with it, you know? So I think that's good. And, you know, my other piece here was being good to your word. I think that kind of just goes into just being a man of honor, right? Like, it's just being a good man, alpha. Yeah, just being a good dude.
Hell yeah.
Are you barking or are you leading by example? And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is I'm barking today, I guess you could say, because I'm picking a bone and I'm barking for sake of what this business is. We bark. We get on these mics and we talk and we give some perspective and some food for thought, and, you know. But I also feel like the only reason I would even come on here and run my mouth about my opinion on this is because I do think that I lead by example.
Yeah.
Within the scope that I have as far as
and dude, you're right.
topic.
These conversations need to be had because there's a huge demographic of young men out there that don't have strong father figures.
Yeah.
And father figures that don't have strong father figures. You know,
yeah.
like there's
it's true. And even if you had a good dad, like society is so different now. Like I think it's real when you talk about this, like the whole like demasculating men, if I'm saying that appropriately, and like just this whole wave of like, you're a man so that you're evil and that's not allowed, and man thoughts and all the stuff. Like I do think that can be hard to weed through. Yeah. And I think the biggest response to that is just not getting emotional, right? Like sometimes my command presence is a little interesting when we walk into certain places. And here's the deal. I'm always respectful and I'm always kind. I know how to treat a lady. I know how to treat my elders and be respectful. And if someone was trying to like get under my skin or like tell me that my beliefs are wrong or who I am is wrong because I'm too masculine, well, the last and worst thing I could do is have an emotional response to that, right? So sometimes being alpha per se, right, is just keeping that chin high and not barking and not giving that emotional response, like being proud of who you are, but also understanding, like, I think the part of that being alpha piece is like, if that's truly how people feel and they're just being masculine is a disease. Okay. Like you just got to understand that's their opinion, no matter how fake or no matter how much they're falling into a fad themselves. Don't chase that rabbit. Yep. Just be proud of who you are. And sometimes it's what you don't say that speaks louder than everything else, right?
Dude.
I mean, that's my opinion on it. I'm sure you got some last words, and I'll kind of shift to some females here.
Yeah, dude. I mean, really, I think we just need to talk about this more, right? And if you're a father out there, even if your kid's old, man, if you got young kids, you got old kids, speak up, right? Start speaking your thoughts. Start talking about the way your thought process works and the way that you have business interactions with other men and the way you treat women. Talk to your sons about those things. I don't think people talk. I mean, just men are in this habit of just keeping shit in, right? And that used to be me. Like, I have all these thoughts, but I wouldn't articulate it, right? Now, after having a son, I'm seeing so much, like, and he's 1.5 right now, so communication is limited. However, when I'm having business conversations, he's going to understand why I'm saying those things,
and
right?
I think that's the biggest piece is, one, first and foremost, right, before you even open your mouth, like, just make sure that you're exemplifying by example.
Yes. God, yes.
Exemplifying by example. It's like not the proper way to say that.
Make
sure that you're just like, you're leading by example. Yeah. Because that way, when you are explaining why you do what you do, that's okay. And then, and then, you know, like, for example, like if I ever do have to yell because someone's walking on me or they're crossing some lines, I do got to go, hey, enough, right? Like, I can also explain like the self-respect piece.
Yes.
And just making sure that they understand. So again, like, leading by example, but explaining like why you do what you do. And I think you're right, man. I think just men having these conversations and just being more level-headed and more open to self-growth, not so closed off and bottled up. Because when you're that, then even when you do react to the right situation, you overreact. Like maybe you just had it with whatever. But if you've been holding that for 6 or 7 or 8, 9 months and you finally had it, and then something small happens, but it's just the straw that breaks the camel's back, and then the last 9 months just comes out of the woodwork, it's just probably not the right way to handle it. You know, So I think the biggest thing is just being a little bit more, or maybe a lot of bit more open to just some self-growth and just questioning why you do what you do and questioning if you're comfortable with it and where that lies.
Being comfortable in your own skin. And that's the biggest thing. Like if you're comfortable in your own skin, you're not offended at every little thing. You're not looking for that external validation. You don't feel like you have to wear your tap out or grunt style shirt in order for people to like you.
We're profiling this dude so bad today. By the way, we've got some friends that was stuff like we got a buddy. Is it Nathan?
Yeah, Lender.
Super nice guy, man. Has a beard. Wears those kind of shirts. He's a super
Appreciate
nice guy.
you watching, man.
Listen, dude, I'm not talking about you.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
it sounds like it. It's not you at all. And dude, I'm sure you're tired of guys looking like you, acting like idiots, right?
Yes.
Because then you get put into that category. So just first and foremost, man, we're not talking about you.
No.
We appreciate the support. Obviously, you know, if we had a bone to pick,
Well, dude, and both you and I, like, we're easy targets too, and I think people can look at us and
Dude.
you know, be judgmental and
No, we are, but you know what?
Yeah.
I laugh it off because I understand it, man. Like, first and foremost, we're in real estate. Good golly, do I look like a real estate agent to you? No, man.
Yeah.
So not only am I kind of a bigger guy as it is, regardless of where I walk into, when I'm walking in, and you're 65 years old, and I'm walking in your house, it's you're just not expecting. And so again. Am I offended? No, man. I laugh it off because I understand the dynamic. I understand what's going on, and the more I can laugh it off and just embrace that,
and you're
the more they get to know me.
You're self-validated. You don't need external validation.
No.
So when you don't get the external validation, you're fine because it's all internal.
Yeah, but it hurts me too sometimes, man, because I only have a couple of guy friends.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I get along a lot better with females.
Same.
A lot.
100%.
Like, a lot of guys, dude, they don't like me. They have an issue with me. And it took me a long time to start figuring out like why and where. Like one of my mistakes is I would start being like overly nice to guys that I kind of felt that from, to just show them like, hey, it's all good or you're safe, right? And like it actually made it worse. Now it made it look like I was trying to live up to them. And like, hold on a minute. Well, that's not true.
Right.
We're not even close. So I had to just grow, but I questioned it a lot. And I didn't know why. And then I go, oh, I get it. Men are just as uncomfortable in their skin and insecure and fearful and doubtful as themselves as women are. The only difference, and I'm not saying why or how or whether it's right or wrong, I'm not comparing sexes here, but from my experience, it's always been a little bit more okay for women to be insecure or for women to doubt themselves or for women to be a certain way with their feelings, and men, it just hasn't been you don't hear men talk about their insecurities. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying that it's true across the board. I'm just talking my experience. And I know there's some double standards out there. Men can do things, but women can't. And then women can do things, but men can't. I get it. I understand it. I'm just saying, like, the layers of it is, it's just not quite entirely acceptable for men to talk about their insecurities and their doubts. And we're supposed to be tough and shoulder stuff. And it comes out in the weirdest ways to where guys would just treat me a certain way, and I had to just take some time and figure that out. But now on the flip side, women, like, I know we're talking a lot about men today. I don't really have much to say for women because, look, I'm not one and I can't speak to it. But I will say, from my experience, when women are the cliche, we're going to call it, the cliche female alpha is the one that just wants to beat you at everything, is better than you at everything, and is kind of a bitch. And they're exhausting to be around. I'll tap you out in jiu-jitsu in a fucking second. I don't want to hear your word.
Shit.
You're not a top producer. You haven't done a deal. Don't run your mouth to me. You haven't done it. And just because you assume that you are going to do it and I'm a man does not mean that you get to talk down to my penis and then it's acceptable because you read the book Lean In, and then now being a bitch and being outspoken is how you have to be.
No.
But it sucks too, man, because, you know, like, there are females that are in male-dominated professions where they kind of do have to posture up and be a bitch to be heard. I'm not saying that's acceptable either. I understand why they're doing it. I just hope that across the board, men and women both have the conversations as far as, like, what does alpha mean? How to project that, how to communicate, how to be confident within your own skin, and just understand what level of alpha per se that you want to be.
When I picture, like, female alphas, I picture, like, the perceived alpha and then the actual alpha, just like we're talking about.
Yeah.
Now picture that 10 girls in Vegas on The Bachelorette party, right? The bachelorette trip, and you got these 10 girls, and there's like 2 or 3 super loud ones that are like challenging the guys to drink and talking all this shit to everybody, right? The real alpha is the one at 3:45 in the morning that's fucking sober because they've been babysitting 9 other girls, and they're making sure that all those little bitches get back to their hotel. And they all have their fucking high heels with them. Yeah. And everyone, she's holding their hair back while they're fucking puking. That girl's a real alpha right there.
And she might head kick you.
And she will probably head kick you, right?
You just never know.
She probably will.
But I also think, like, you know, like, so when we talk about the alpha women, like, it also, like, there's an alpha side to taking pride in raising your family. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that you need to just do that. Obviously, I'm in a family where we both work, and she has an outstanding career and she crushes, but then she still comes home and she has roles prior to me getting home with kiddos, and but she embraces it. She embraces homework. She embraces nurturing. Like, she just knows, dude, biologically, my son wants her right now.
Yeah.
When it's nighttime, look, when he wants to watch Puppy Dog Pals and the New York Yankees beat the shit out of whoever we're beating, he's all for it.
Yeah.
If he needs something like a bottle or some sleep or whatever, dude, he doesn't give a fuck about me, right? So there is an alpha side to also just embracing your role of whether you're a man or a woman, embracing that side. And she crushes with homework and helping our daughter, and she crushes with our son and how she's there for him and just gives him that feeling of just security and safeness and just nurturing him. Dude, there's some pride and some alpha for a woman to embrace all that and just be the best of that while still going out and crushing other shit. Don't get me wrong, if you want to. But there's also, you know, just as much as, like, you know, like the whole pendulum thing, like, where, you know, masculinity's like bad. It's almost like it got passed to women. It's almost like being a mother is like not prideful anymore. And like, if you don't have a career that's got a manager title and you're not leaning in, then you're not a woman.
Who's that comedian? She's like Asian comedian, female, hilarious.
Ali Wong?
Yeah, and she had that whole bit about.
Oh God, I don't want to work. I want to lay down.
Before you feminist, I was cool, chilling like, on the couch.
Us women had it figured out.
Yeah,
dude. And she's being funny and extreme, and I get it. But again, like, I think the masculinity, it didn't so much get like gone or rid from men. It's almost like they just picked it up and placed it on women, and now women need to be these executives and crushing their in this. And if you're not leaning in and doing that, then you're not a woman. Like, oh, you're a mom. Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
No, like, again, so when it comes to regardless of sex, alpha is just, again, like being comfortable in your own skin, being prideful of what you are, attacking it in the best manner possible, and just holding it down. And if that means you're dual and you have a career and you're a mom, if that means it's dual, you have a career and you're a dad, I'm sure there's some stay-at-home dads, dude. That's probably hard too, because they maybe want mom. Who knows? The bottom line is, if that's who you are and you're comfortable with that skin and you attack it and you just feel like you're the best at what you're doing for who you are and your family or whatever it may be, dude, awesome. But I also think that people that are truly doing that, I don't think they really do care about what people think. I think all these people on social media that are putting these images up or caring so much about other people care, I think it's just those are the ones that are lost.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Big time, man. Right. So I think that's my biggest thing, dude, is regardless of men or women, you know, whether you have a career or you're a stay-at-home parent or you're both, whatever it is, like, have some pride in what you're doing, be confident in what you're doing. And look, if you genuinely want more, take more.
Take more, right? Get like, better. But understand that like alphas serve a lot. And they bring people up, and they want other people around them to succeed. They're not worried about other people passing them up and then becoming alpha. Yeah. No, like a real alpha, they're gonna help the people around them. You have to come from a place of service and experience. You're gonna have to get some scars.
Make mistakes.
You're gonna make mistakes, and it's okay if you're not alpha right now, but you're trying to be, and you're going through that experience, and you're getting your scars right now. That's okay.
A part of it might just being wise, man. Like, just having the time to get comfortable in your own skin and just go chase some things down. But again, I think, you know, Cliff Notes, or my final statement for today is, if you're a man, submitting women is not alpha.
No.
Bullying men, pushing them around and, you know, like whatever, making fun of my fucking Angry Orchard, it's going to get you fucked up. I might just prove a point just because of it. I might kill you with that Angry Orchard, right? Like, just to prove my point. Being funny.
He puts the angry
but
Angry Orchard.
Like, it's not right, but it's not pushing people around and being bullies and, like, you know, and like hitting on every girl in the bar and being overly confident and all that stuff. Like, that's not. And then for women, Like being alpha in your world isn't proving something to a man and isn't puckering up and being a bitch and leaning in and just being an asshole to everyone because you think that's what you got to do to get the job done. Hopefully nowadays as a tide changes, like you don't have to be that as a woman to get your job done. So I think there's just extremes to both sides and it's just you never find resolve within any extreme. The biggest thing is be yourself and be the best at it you can be. And if you're seeing some of these marketed pieces, like just tread carefully.
Yeah. And go get punched in the mouth. Everyone, please go get punched in the mouth. I swear to God. There's I think
everyone goes to jiu-jitsu every day and gets his ass whooped.
Everyone
everyone else. Don't get me wrong, dude.
Bro.
Everyone else does too. But again, it just
like everyone needs to have some sort of service industry job. Go wait tables for a year and then go get punched in the mouth. And then I think you're probably ready to start doing some of their life shit. But
you'll know what it feels like.
Those things are so important, man.
And I've had my days where I've been an asshole. I've had my days where I'm not the friendliest person.
Same. Snap at Megan. I'll break some shit or something
and
like that.
You know what, dude? You don't feel good after.
No, dude. No.
You don't feel good. And maybe they do submit because they're just kind of scared of what you're doing, or they're just like, Jesus, you're out of control. Fine.
That's what
Conversation over.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that doesn't feel good.
No.
It doesn't, because then at the end of the day, like, you didn't get your point across. They don't understand. And you're just not mature enough to articulate your situation, like your circumstances, and you're letting something get the best of you, and then you let your emotions get the best of you. Which, again, that shouldn't be an alpha reaction. Your alpha reaction should just be patient and kind. And if it's got to be firm because someone's walking on you, fine. But if you have to get to a point where you're losing your shit and breaking shaker bottles, don't get me wrong. I've had those days. I really try to learn from them and grow from them so they're few and far between. So someone doesn't get the best of me, right? And so if they don't, well, they're going to lose that argument. And then secondly, I'm doing all I can to keep it calm, so I don't have to put fear in anyone, and so they hear me more. Because if they understand who I am a lot more, and I understand who they are a lot more, we're going to be better off. You know what I mean? But the bottom line is losing your cool, it's not fun.
No, it's it's just, again, self-control, self-discipline. Those are such alpha characteristics. Like just self-control. And that self-control sometimes means letting that dude at the bar be an asshole. It doesn't mean you're submitting to him. Doesn't mean you're submitting to him.
You know, you spill a little beer on his shoes, so he's and like, hey, man, I'm sorry about that. Let me buy you a beer.
Dude, that's me.
Dude, I've seen some badass guys buy a guy a beer. And I so bad want to go, hey, man.
Do you know who that is?
Do you know who that is, right?
Yeah.
That guy's going to head kick you with his cowboy boot real quick.
Yep.
Right? But they just don't, but again, I think a lot of times like guys that are like real alpha and understand like what inflicting pain or damage or fear can do to someone. Like you try at all costs to just not allow that. And it's not even just for the person you're going to inflict pain on. It's for you at all costs. Unless I need to do that, I don't want people getting the best of my emotions and the best of my moods and allowing them to have control over me psychologically because I can't keep my shit together because God forbid somebody poured some beer on my Timberlands.
Yeah.
No, man. That's not the best way to go about it. You're a loose cannon, and then that's when you do come across someone that's going to punch
real
in the
alpha.
mouth.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're out there faking and you know it deep inside, if you're faking, keep it up. One of these days, you're going to cross paths with a real alpha, and it's not going to be pretty.
I think I know a guy.
Sorry for you. I think I know one, too. Fat over here. Fat's like the sleeper ninja.
I'm the Omega.
Oh, he's the Alpha and the Omega.
Oh my God.
All right, that's next week's episode.
Said,
so I think you're an Omega.
I think we've popped a top on this. And
that's right.
Again, if there's anyone that knows us personally or has been talking to us, I hope you don't think we're talking about you. This is no one specific.
Yeah, no.
But with that being said, man,
unless you got a tap out shirt, if you're still wearing tap out in 2020, you got a problem.
Man, those are good dudes. The guys that actually created tap out are cool dudes.
They
man.
are.
They supported a lot of guys early on, and it just. Again, it sucks that a lot of it got taken out of context and now cliche guys wear it. But again, look, dude, if you love tap out and you're good, wear it.
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah.
But if you're
right?
Hold on a minute. But if you're the guy wearing that and then wanting to give girls at the bar the perception that you're a fighter, or you're the guy like shadow boxing in between your bench press sets at the gym.
God.
Okay, see, now you've taken it too far.
There
if
you go.
If you enjoy it for what it is, I'm all for it. But
That's true.
dude, we've seen them at the gym, shadow boxing in between their lat pulls. You're not a boxer. You're not a fighter. You're in the sauna, air punching.
No, because guys like you're looking at their foot, you're looking at their hips. You're like, you look at someone's hips, you're like, yeah, dude, You're not fooling anyone, bro.
You're not fooling anyone.
No.
Right? So I think that's where it lies. It's not, and just to be clear, right? It's not the brands or whatever. And if you're more outspoken, cool. If you're more quiet, cool. But if you're wearing things, or doing things to give a perception that you're something that you're not, especially if it's in the direction of like some type of like alpha, I think you're mistaken. And it's just going to get you in trouble.
Bottom line, do the best at everything that you do. Always try and be better. Bring others up around you.
Bottom line, because I'm going to alpha you and one up you.
Bottom line.
I'm kidding. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, guys. Episode 23. Thank you. See you next time.
See you guys soon.